And it took him so long to build up to this point and start rebelling, and then she's been doing it forever. Like, well, not forever, but for a long time. Like, literally, like, Winston asks her, how many people have you done this with? And she was like, a lot. And he was just really excited about that because that means that more people are rebelling, but she just likes that because it's for herself and what she wants to do.
I think it's really interesting, just like, because first of all, there is like an age gap. Like, Winston's like 39 and then she's like 26, which like is fine, but I think it's interesting because normally like young people are more about the like revolution and they're like, yeah, let's like take over like the government stuff, but like middle-aged people are more like, no, like these things take time, like slowly, but like their roles are kind of reversed in that sense, which I thought was interesting. But then again, Winston like does sort of remember what life was like before the party, so that was probably part of it, because Julia believes that like the party like is immovable and like can't be rid of, even though like it
and that might be also have to do with the fact that where he works in the records department, so that he like has held proof that he knows that things aren't right here.
Right.
And then like you can even see like the parts where like you almost expected like you said earlier, like you were expecting Julia to be like so much for the party and like being selfless and like trying to free everyone, versus she's a selfish person, and like you were almost expecting like Winston from his like early stories for him to be the selfless person and just do it for himself, and now he's doing it he's joining the Brotherhood to do it for everyone instead of just like himself, which is kind of a good reverse roles there, or conflicting roles.
What do you guys think of like her like as like a character, like as like a woman, because like she's like really like the only like woman character, and like mostly what she's concerned about is like having sex, so like what do you guys think about that?
I mean, she says like a lot in the like she was talking about like in the room now she like got makeup from like the pearls, and now she's like, I'm gonna be a woman in this room from now on. Like she said she was gonna buy a dress, and then she had all this makeup on, and like it's interesting to see like herself trying to like embrace herself as like a woman, because instead of like a comrade, because of like the society like pushing that down. But it's obviously like very interesting because I guess there is like the mother, Winston's mother, but like you only get to hear about her for a scene, so it's very interesting contrast.
Yeah, like just like I feel like in their society it's like there are no generals almost, and then she wants to like kind of be a woman, and then in our society generals are perpetuated everywhere, so and we kind of like want to like make that die down and say like everyone's pretty much the same. So it's just really like it seems to me really opposite of that, and I think that's really interesting.
I think it's interesting because they like don't really have gender roles, but then do you remember how she like worked in like the pornography section, and they're like, oh, only like unmarried women can work there because women are like less likely to like be, what's the word, like have like that influence them than like men, so that's why there's a man in charge, but everybody else is like women, which I think was interesting because that was kind of like stereotypes, but it's
that's
interesting.
Like the only place I see it,
but that's like the only place, which is interesting. But I think that's more because like it was like the book was written by a man, so that was kind of like the common held belief. But I think it's interesting because she's like, oh, I don't want to be like a camera, like, because she wants to be like in the gender roles, but like we reject them. So that was interesting.
So we'll talk about O'Brien and what his character is through talking about the plot as well. So he has a lot of, I mean, he obviously conflicts with the party a lot, and his motivation is to bring down the party eventually, whether it'll happen in the next year, the next 10, the next 100, maybe the next millennia. But I feel like his character just introduces a new kind of conflict, and it might be between him and Winston or him and Julia, because he has a list of criteria that he has him go through, and one of the questions is, are you willing to be separated for the party? And Julia says no, but Winston hesitated, and I'm kind of convinced that if she hadn't been there, he would have said yes. If not, maybe not because he actually would, but just because he was in kind of that mindset of saying yes to every question he was saying. But like, could there be conflict between those two in the future, do you think? I feel like it's kind of likely. Him and Julia.
I feel like Julia also struggled with that question because she doesn't believe the war is actually happening, and she thinks that's like that. She's like, she's not going to be separated for no reason. And like, while Winston, he thinks that this war is still happening, and like this, like it has to be like finished, and like the Brotherhood needs to be put down. So, or not the Brotherhood, the party needs to be put down. Sorry. And I think that was a good good example of like their contrast of characters, because it just showed how different they were, and like how like Winston hesitated even though he like cared so much about Julia.
So it's their character that's causing that possible conflict in them.
Yeah. Also, O'Brien brings a whole new level of like rebellion, and the things that like Winston was agreeing to, like he was agreeing to like throwing acid in like children's faces and like killing hundreds of innocents' lives. Like these aren't like things that like you could just easily brush over. Like these are really serious and like very bad.
He definitely thinks that the ends justify the means. He's that type of character.
Which I don't agree with. But I just think it's really interesting because Winston's like, yeah, like the party is like so awful that like Winston and other people are like willing to do that.
Also, do you think they almost, for living in this type of like society with the party, like have they almost lost their morals because of it? Like, do they realize how bad this is that they're agreeing to, or are they just going and justifies the means and doesn't even think about it?
Yeah, like Winston has talked before about like how he thinks that the Proles are still human because they still feel. Winston said he struggled to bring back his emotions and how he feels because there's no morality in the party. So yeah, I feel
Also,
like that can be very possible.
I think it's really interesting. Like O'Brien, like I feel like, I mean, we don't know for sure, but like I feel like he's like pretty high up in the Brotherhood. I mean, he doesn't even know that, but like I just think it's so interesting because like as soon as like Winston leaves, he's back to doing like the party's work. I mean, that's like his job, but like I just think it's so interesting that he's like, yeah, like a Brotherhood, but then like as soon as the telescreen is like put back on, like he's back to doing work, which I realize is like part of like his disguise and everything, but
yeah, and he seems like a really logical person. Like the whole like setup of the Brotherhood really interested me.
Right.
Because
I'm
no
so
one
excited
really
to learn
knows
more.
who else. Yeah, no one really knows who else is in the Brotherhood, which is good. And then no one knows anything.
You don't know how big
Like
it
even
is.
Goldstein, the head of the Brotherhood, doesn't.
Right.
I'm assuming doesn't know who like all of his people are, and who's fighting with them. Like anyone could be. Like Winston goes out thinking everyone's an enemy, but anyone could be an ally as well.
And the Brotherhood doesn't even know if Goldstein is like alive. For all they know, they could be just following some dead cause, and they should be starting something completely else. And like, yeah.
I think it would be really interesting if like giant plot twist, like everybody is part of the Brotherhood, but like nobody knows that. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, because like the bad thing about that whole system is that like you can't have like mass rebellion.
Right.
Like
it's
you have
just
to
like
do it
small
in
acts.
little acts, and I
And
mean
they-
they'll add up
yeah.
over time, but it'll take forever.
Okay, I just don't understand like how they are gonna take the party down. Like they're like, oh, like kill hundreds of innocent lives, and like how does that like ruin the party? If and
Like the party doesn't care.
Right, like I don't think the party really cares about their lives. So I mean, I'm sure we'll find out more, but like I just don't understand like how that's gonna work.
Yeah, and what do we really know about the party? Like I don't like who heads it. Like
We just
No, it's that guy whose
is it
pictures
that one guy?
everywhere.
It's like Big Brother.
Yeah.
But is that like a person, or is there an actual person, or are they
I
just
think
saying there's a
so.
person?
At least to my knowledge. I mean, he might be made up, but to my knowledge, he's real. Cause he like makes speeches and stuff.
So like are they just take him down because I don't
'Cause,
know.
I mean,
I feel like there's also like a super high network of those people, because you can tell they're the only people that are getting these luxury goods like coffee and chocolate and like
the inner party.
yeah, the inner party. And like so there has to be a decent amount of them, because if they're able to keep all that food to themselves while like not letting anyone else know about it, like that has to be a decent, you know what I mean? Like it can't be like too large, but it can't be too small either,
Right.
because those goods have to be made.
I don't know. I just think this is really interesting, and like it's just like intriguing me more and more.
Yeah, I definitely didn't think the path was gonna, like, the book was gonna go
Yeah, 'cause I
this
was-
direction. Like, I was totally thinking it was gonna
Right.
go down a different way, and, like,
Cause I was like, is this
was-
it? Like, is
yeah.
this like the only form of rebellion they could do? Is like have
And then,
sex?
yeah.
Like.
and then it keeps going, and it's
Right.
like, oh, kill innocent
I mean, I
lives.
figure like O'Brien like had some part in it because they kept on like mentioning
Yeah.
him and like, oh, the place where like no darkness
Oh,
is
yeah.
or
What
whatever
is
that
up with
line
that?
is.
Like he said he heard it in a dream, but I'm guessing that it really wasn't a dream, and he just thought
Yeah.
it was. And then
I think he,
because
like-
O'Brien knew what he was talking about.
Yeah, because I think he like heard O'Brien like saying that to somebody. Like it was like his voice, but like, and then he like remembered it in a dream. He was like, oh my gosh, that's O'Brien. And then he was like, oh, I bet he like doesn't like the party too. And then he looked into his eyes and stuff.
Like, where do you think that is? I feel like the place where there is no darkness, maybe the time after the party has been taken down, where
Yeah.
everything is better.
Or maybe they're referring to it before.
Like maybe there's like an actual place though.
Like where it's like not dark. I don't know.
Like maybe like outside or someplace
Yeah.
or I don't. We'll
Or
find
somewhere
out.
where they
I
can meet
guess.
publicly and not be afraid.
Yeah.
Sort of. Kind of like a metaphor type thing.
Because I don't think it could be like a room, or maybe it is a room, but there's like a lot of lights or something. I don't know.
It can be taken literally or figuratively. And
Yeah.
I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Oh, there's so many things I'm gonna find out.
Yeah, I have a feeling that it is going to be metaphorically because of all the metaphors that we've already seen in the book so far. So, yeah.
So now we'll do a point of view. How does Winston feel about the different characters? And let's talk about O'Brien because we kind of already know how he feels about Julia.
Mhm.
O'Brien is kind of like someone who knows more than him. He's a source of information. Like he found out more about what the party is doing. He's gonna get a book from him, and he even knew the little rhyme, the rest of the rhyme about the bells that keeps popping up.
Yeah, okay, so my theory about that, okay, so we first heard about it from, like, the guy in the shop, right? And then he, like, gave him more information about, like, the room and, like, how to rebel. And, like, Julia gave him another line, so we had more information, but it still wasn't complete. And, like, they talked and stuff about rebellion. And then he met O'Brien, and O'Brien, like, gave him, like, the last line, and then it was complete. And now he, like, knows how to rebel fully. So, like, he just learned more and more information from, like, each character, and now it's complete.
Yeah, like so it was like his journey.
Right.
To rebelling is complete.
That's my
interesting.
viewpoint.
I'm just like, do you think it's gonna come back then?
I
Because
don't
they
know.
said it was finished.
Yeah,
Like,
but
and there's still like half the book left.
I feel like there might be like more meaning, or like maybe there's like another verse, or like maybe there's something to do with the church, like maybe that's the place.